Okay, I wanted to make this video about the e-collar. I want to make a little quick pointer video about like 5 points before you should even think about buying an e-collar or even using an e-collar. Okay, I wanted to do this because I know it's going to create this series about watching Ava progress on the e-collar, but I just thought I would do this video as like more of a preamble than anything else. So this way you knew what you're getting yourself into. Now, these are 5 quick points that I thought about because I have e-collar experience in the past. Ace's experience with the e-collar, so I know how well it works. But you know, these are just 5 quick points. There's probably more that I could probably add in the comment section, or if you guys want to even add in the comment section, that's totally fine. Or I'll just create a follow-up video about other points that I think are pertinent to the e-collar and be getting your dog on the e-collar. But here are 5 quick points. Okay, so number 1, you're not teaching your dog anything new on the e-collar. All the heavy lifting that you've done is before this. This is where you're introducing a new behavior or new trick or piece of obedience. All the shaping and luring and introduction and repetitions, everything you've done is before the e-collar is ever introduced to your dog. So all the heavy lifting is done. The only thing the e-collar has done is cleaning up some of the communication. Because remember, the e-collar is a communication apparatus, such as the collar or the lead. The only thing is that it's a little bit cleaner and a little bit more concrete and more black and white. Okay, so it's taken out some of the guesswork because it is more acute than anything else. Okay, but so you're not teaching your dog anything new with the e-collar because it's unfair to the dog. Remember, it's all about fairness. So it's unfair to try and teach something new to a dog with the e-collar. For instance, you want your dog to do something and there's no way for them to learn on it, so you're just going to provide us stimulations. That's unfair. Okay, we're all about being fairness and rewarding and praising, and that's where the shaping and the luring thing is. Because again, if you watch all my videos or anyone else's videos, they've always done it with treats and praise and things like that. This is just a little added bonus to cleaning up some of the communication issues. Okay, so number 1 is you're not teaching your dog anything new with the e-collar. Everything you've already taught is before this is introduced. This is just more of a reinforcement tool. Okay. Number 2, do not go cheap when you buy an e-collar. This one here, because it was a 2-pack, I'm not going to lie, it's a Dogtra. Even though I'm name dropping it, I do not get any kind of commission or sponsorship with Dogtra. I like one, but I don't have one. So if you're going to get one, do your homework, find your own. But this one here, because it was a 2-pack, was over $400. So again, it's a small investment. But because it's your dog, get something good. I'm one of those believers, and what you get is what you pay for. So you get cheap, you buy cheap. That's kind of it. For transparency, if you watch some of my other videos, Ava did have a e-collar at one point, and it was a piece of shit. Literally, it was a cheap piece of shit. The remote control was a cheap piece of plastic. You never know if you were hitting the buttons. You never even know if it was being consistent with the vibrations. Battery ran out really, really fast. So with this one, the remote control is sturdy. You actually know when you're clicking the buttons, there's good feedback. But the biggest thing is when the battery is 100% and when the battery is on its last 1%, the vibrations or the stimulus is still consistent, and that is what you want from a good e-collar. Plus, something like this will last many, many years. The one I had with Ace lasted over 7-8 years. So again, it's a small investment, but you get a good solid return on your investment. So again, it is a little bit pricey. So save your pennies if you have to. But again, it's just one of those, if you buy cheap, you get cheap. So that's just the way it is when it comes to one of these things. And because it's your dog, I think it's well worth it, especially if you see the great benefits and the trade-off versus the price to behavior issues. So there you go. Number 3. Do not use it when you are emotional. I'm talking about you as the dog owner. Do not use the e-collar when you are emotional. If you are having a bad day, do not use it. So if you're bad day at work, your boss is being a prick, or your significant other is just being an asshole, or you're just having a shitty day, do not use it when you're emotional, because chances are when you're already in a bad mood, I've just found out just from a pattern, could be just me. If I'm having a bad day, usually my training is going to be a bad day as well. It just goes hand in hand because your dog is feeding off of your energy. So do not use it when you're emotional, because if you're emotional, chances are your dog isn't going to be 100%, and then you're just going to get more frustrated and want to rely on that, and then you're just basically, for a lack of a better word, I'm not going to use this word because it's going to have a bad connotation to it. You're just going to take it out on your dog, and that is unfair. So that's bullshit. So again, if you're having a bad day and your training is off, just stop. Don't even use the e-collar. Just put your dog in the crate, wait an hour, cool down, take a breather, have a beer, watch a show, do whatever, relax. Then take your dog out, do some basic obedience that your dog is kind of foolproof on or is slightly better on. So this way you're getting good feedback, and then you can do something that you're working on. But don't use it when you're emotional or having a bad day, because just through osmosis, you might take it out on your dog, and that's unfair, and that's the last thing you want to do. Remember, you want to have your dog have a positive experience with the e-collar. You don't want to have a negative one. So if you're having a bad day, don't use the e-collar. Number 3, stimulus is fluid, meaning just because you found the correct stimulus when you initially put the e-collar on your dog does not mean that's where it has to stay. Okay, so for instance, if your dog is in a higher drive, or if you just have a harder dog, your stimulus might be a little higher. If you have more of a lower stimulus or lower distraction rate or a lower drive, you don't need a high stimulus. Okay, case in point, Ava is kind of like a bully, so to speak. She is a hard dog, but kind of soft once you get down to the nitty gritty of it. Ace is an old soul. So in the beginning, Ava needed, for just backyard, which is, again, low stimulus because there's not a lot of distractions, she may need it like a 6 or 7. In the house, maybe a 4 if we're walking out and about or out in one of our fields, maybe a 10 or 11. Okay, so just because when you initially put it on and you're trying to find the right stimulus, again, the stimulus indication with your dog is either, just kind of like their head's bobbing, it could be an ear flick, it could be a tail flick, it just could be just like what is that? That's about all you need. Now remember, depending on the environment, depending on if you're on tile, concrete, grass, if there's a lot of humidity, being in Florida, I got a lot of humidity down here. So all these variables have to be in play, and that's why you always start at 0 and you just work your way up. Now, just playing it by being safe, you take your dog out, say you're going to go out for a walk or about to go train, and you go, going to walk to the park, you may be on a lower stimulus because that's what they need at that time. But as more distractions and more prey drives start coming about in your dog, they may need a higher stimulus in order to combat some of that drive. Okay? And vice versa, you could go from a high stimulus environment to a lower stimulus environment, and now the stimulus of the e-collar needs to come down. So only use what the dog needs at that time. Don't go above it and don't go below it. So again, I know with the dog tread, it's very cool that they have incorporated this function where they actually lock the stimulus button, which I like because on my old one, it did not. So occasionally, depending on where the remote was, the remote could flip. The stimulus button can flip and actually adjust very easily. Now it's a lock, so you just have to unlock it and change the stimulus based on what you want. So know your dog. If you know you're going to go into a higher distraction environment with other dogs, other animals, other scent smells, you can go ahead and get ahead of it by just kind of pre-selecting what you normally do. So if you go to the same environment more often than not, you can get an idea of where the stimulus needs to be and can go ahead and set it before you get there or as soon as you come up to it, then you can pre-select it and then just go from there. And then when you're done at that environment and you're walking out of it, you can go ahead and bring that stimulus down in case you still need to use the e-collar, okay? Number 5, make it a positive association. Meaning, if you watch my previous video, I told you how often I was putting the e-collar on Ava. For at least 4 days, 2-3 times a day, I would put the e-collar on, but every time I presented it, especially the first 2 days, I just showed it to her. She can look at it, she can smell it, and I was giving her treats. Boom, treat, here you go, treat, boom, here you go. Same thing, put it on, treats, put it on, treats. So just like a leash, if I get the leash, she's already doing 360, she's spinning around, she may be barking a little bit just because she's excited because she knows something good is going to come from it. You know, we're going to go train, we're going to go outside, we're going to go for a walk, it could be whatever it is, she is excited because something good is going to come from it. That's the exact kind of behavior you want with your e-collar. You do not want your dog to see the e-collar, put it on the e-collar, and then you basically fold up and get small and get tucked in, tails tucked between the legs, because that means there's a negative association with it. You want your dog to have a positive experience with it. So again, after I put it on a couple of days, feed treats, I didn't even use the e-collar for multiple days because as soon as I put it on, we went to go train. I got the tug, got a toy, got her ball, whatever it is. So she forgot the e-collar was even there. Now I left it on just so she can feel the weight of it, get used to having it on, but I never even turned it on. Okay, it wasn't until about 4 or 5 days later that I actually started using it. Okay, so get your dog to have a positive association just like they do with the leash. Or like if you pick it up and they're, you know, getting excited, they know something good is from it. Do the same thing with the e-collar. So take your time. Do not rush the process of them seeing it and then developing that positive association. So I'd rather you wait longer to actually use it. Go ahead and put it on them, that's fine. But just take your time and making it a positive experience. So this way you're not gonna have any negative connotations to it. Your dog's not gonna have a negative experience with it. All they do is when they see it, they know something good is coming, and that's what you want. And I'll go ahead and start making a series about using the e-collar, especially with Ava, because she's doing it famously. She's doing it fabulously. She's learning great off of it. So again, good luck. Talk to you next time. Done.